Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Jumpstart Your Business webinar series. We're going to be talking, this is part 7, and I know that we discussed Zapier in the past in webinar 5, but we're going to delve in deeper into this. We've gotten a lot of questions around this, and we're going to delve in deeper on how to successfully integrate ScoreCEO to not only export your invoices, but export your payments as well through automation. And we're going to go into this much more in detail today. To clarify any of the questions that you may have. But just so you understand, in today's lesson, if you apply everything that you learned today, you'll be able to fundamentally create a transaction, and those transactions will go through Zapier and connect directly to your QuickBooks software as well. I think, and that would be online as well as not offline, but the online version. Is that right, Kate?
Yes.
Yes. So, and that's a great segue to present Kate, which is from the Credit Law Center. She's their technology expert. That's what she calls herself. I call her jack of all trades. She does it all other than own the business, but she manages it as if it were her. We all need team members like Kate. She's high speed, low drag, and she's been working on this integration that we've gotten rid of Infusionsoft and a whole bunch of applications out there that were costing them a ton of money, and it was very complicated to train new employees. And they have quite a few employees. How many employees do you guys have today, Kate?
I think we're somewhere around 45 right now.
Yeah. And you've come. Bo told me once that you guys burst to about 70 employees at one point in time in your business. Is that
we
true?
have more than that. I was actually the 7th employee with the company, and at one point I was over 91 people. That was pre-COVID and everything. Once COVID happened, it kind of numbers cut drastically.
So for all of you that are new to the webinar, Kate's company manages over 1,500 customers on a monthly basis, and they've grown more than that. So they've done dispute processing for tens of thousands of customers throughout the life cycle of the business. She's probably used every single CRM and every single credit repair business software or CRM out there in the space. And we worked on a project for a year, and we've been integrating her business while replacing a myriad of different applications like Infusionsoft, Sasan.
Did you freeze?
All of that into one cohesive platform instead of. Are you there?
Yeah, you disappeared for a minute.
Oh, did I? Okay. Can you see me now? Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. So what we've done is get rid of all of that fluff, right, and get it all in one platform, which is ScoreCEO. We had to do some small custom integrations and some major ones as well to the campaign manager, but we've delivered those integrations, and now we want all of you out there to be able to take charge and use Score to take an advantage over your competitors, or just to grow your business, to make the cash register ring on a consistent basis, on purpose and with a strategy, while being able to comply with things like the TSR and not having to wait 6 months to charge, which, by the way, that'll be in our next webinar, is going to be on that topic. And we're going to be showing you how you can use ScoreCEO in its current state to go ahead and comply with the telemarketing sales rule. But having said that, without further ado, I'll leave it to Kate. And Kate is going to go ahead and show you how she connects her ScoreCEO to QuickBooks via Zapier using a myriad of features inside of ScoreCEO and Zapier. it's all yours. If you want, you can share your screen whenever you want, Kate.
All right. Oh, we have a lot of people here today. Hi, everybody. And let me get my screen shared here. All right. So the main thing that I'm going to be showing today in Zapier is how I actually integrate all of my billing. And I can tell you personally that I finally got this completed, and it is saving me probably 30 minutes to an hour of time a day now that I do not have to mess with doing exports out of Score and then updating spreadsheets and making sure everything is good. I don't have to do that anymore. I can actually just trust the system. Now, I am kind of OCD about things, and I do like to have everything go into a spreadsheet. So this is kind of an intense process here. It's got a lot of steps. I am happy to help with sending out some templates and some spreadsheet templates and things like that, if that is something that you guys will utilize. But the first thing that I would do when building your billing Zapier integration is start with your spreadsheet. Sorry, there's my family from Christmas. I'm waiting for my spreadsheet to open right now. All right, so this is my billing spreadsheet. This does have real people in it, so please don't screenshot it or anything like that, or share, I guess. So in your spreadsheet, you want to have an invoices tab and a payments tab. These are just reports that I have extra here, but for the integration purposes, we have invoices and payments. These fields here, not counting the M&N, these fields here are all of the fields, well, I guess not L. These are what I personally need to be able to post to create a brand new consumer and post an invoice to QuickBooks. And then for the payments, it's a little bit more simple there, but that's the information that I need for payments. So once you have your spreadsheet figured out, and on the QuickBooks name, is the same as the display name in QuickBooks. You cannot have the same customer name. You can't have Bob Smith in there twice. So in order to make sure that we don't ever have that, and we can make sure that we always map it to the correct client, we use the last four of their social security number. So it's just first name, last name, and then last four of social. So that way, if they ever come back later, we can have the same name and it'll bring up the same QuickBooks account and that sort of thing. So there's my spreadsheet that I have there, and that's what I'm happy to give this out as a template if you guys will utilize it. These other tabs down here, this is my outstanding invoices, so it figures out any invoice that is not past due, or I'm sorry, that is past due with a balance, and then my collected stats. So how much I collect in payments every day. So now that I've got that built, the next step is what we're going to do is we're going to do this through an email parser. And an email parser is very similar to a webhook. It's essentially a webhook through email. So for systems that don't have the availability to send a webhook, you can just put all of the data that you need into an email. And let me go to my templates here. So I have all of these Zaps: Zap monthly invoice, Zap services invoice, consultation invoice, and then I also have my approved payment. Handy little thing that I use in Score all the time. If you hold down your control button and click on the eyeball or the pencil, it opens all of those up in their own tabs up there. It's very, very handy. Okay, so here on my, well, that's my approved payment. Let's go to consultation invoice. So on the consultation, I removed the header and the footer. I just have the variables and then the headers. It's best for the email parser. You want to do the name on the top and the variable underneath. Don't do it next to it. It's a little wonky and it'll get picky and pick up things that shouldn't. So do one line and then the next line for the variable. go through and name it however you want it in there. And all of those should match your spreadsheet, obviously, because these are all of the fields that are going to go into your spreadsheet and then go into QuickBooks. Now, technically, you don't have to go into a spreadsheet first, but I like it as a form of checks and balances. And then it's also just a great tool to have so I can have the records of it and get that outstanding invoices list and that sort of thing. So I go in here and build all the email templates. The way our QuickBooks is set up is our products. We have a monthly fee. We have a services, which is our pay per delete invoices. And then we have our consultation fee. So one of the things that you have to make sure that you put in there is your actual QuickBooks products. So that way you can make it match. And that's why I have all of these different email templates, because we just recently released new variables for all the different invoicing variables, the transaction ID and all of that sort of things. So those are all there available to you. And then the next step after that is creating the campaigns for all of them. And we just recently released new campaign triggers, all dealing with the invoicing themselves. So now you've got a monthly consultation invoice created, a pay per delete consultation invoice created, and that sort of thing. So use those to your advantage. So that way you can direct your emails and create your email templates to match the different types of invoices and things like that. Once you get all those set up, I also go into, to get my testing going, I create a test email just so that way I can trigger it and it'll work okay for my setup purposes. So I just literally copy and paste my template, but then I fill in the information here. So that way I can just do a tag-based campaign to trigger that email to be sent when I need it. All right, so that is that. Now let's start in Zapier. Now there's a completely separate part of Zapier that is called the email parser. And put up a new tab here. Usually my stuff likes to stop working when we're doing this. So, okay. So these are the different inboxes that I currently have created, and you want to set up a different inbox for each, basically each Zap that you want to do. When you create a new mailbox, it'll give you this random, strand of letters and numbers. I try to make it, they won't let you put real words in there, but see, this says like monthly for my monthly invoices. That's payment, consult, and that sort of thing, just to try to keep them straight. So when you go in here, you're going to create a mailbox. See, here's the random one. And just like when you're setting up a webhook, it's going to sit there and wait for you to get that email. And that's why we do those templates, where the test template to where you can go ahead, whatever, I had it in there, but you know what I'm talking about. Do your test template so then you can do that tag-based campaign and send that example email over. And when you get it, we'll go to my consultation. When you first get an email, it's not going to have all this yellow stuff, but it'll be in here and it'll ask you to set up the template. And when you do that, you go in here and you are highlighting each one of these fields, and then you tell it what that field is called. So obviously invoice number, total, consultation fee. And by doing this, now each one of these is a variable that I can do whatever I want with it. Let's see. Just gonna see if I can we can do edit extra template, so I can make a whole new template if I want to just get it. Sometimes it's helpful to do several templates just to make sure that Zapier is parsing the information correctly. But when you do this is what it'll look like. So you'll just highlight that part, and then I would name that there, or since I've already done this, I would do invoice date. Highlight that section. This one is the QB name, and so on. So that is how you get your variables out of your templates. And that's why this tool is so huge, because you can integrate with literally any program that will send an email, which is just extremely helpful. So once we go through that, save the template. Now you're ready to start your Zap. So now I'm going to go in and let's see. I'm trying to think of if I should just start a new one or show you the one I already have. We'll just do a new one. We're going to work on the consultation invoices. Since the consultation invoices for us are always the first invoice that we create, that is when we will put the consumer into QuickBooks, when we get that first consultation invoice created. So that's why my consultations need all of the information, first name, last name, all of that stuff. So I'm going to go create a new Zap. And I'm going to start with the email parser by Zapier. So now the trigger is going to be when we get a new email. It's going to ask what mailbox. So we're going to do the consultation. And then it's going to look for an email that you sent. All right, so there's the email, all the information that came from it. Oh, that one doesn't have a social security. Well, shoot. Okay, that's a bad example to use. That's okay. There's no social security number on this one, which I'll teach you how to do filters and filter that kind of stuff out too, but we'll use this anyway. So now what's the next step? The next step is that we're going to put all that information from that email into our billing spreadsheet here. So I'm going to go search for Excel. Now you do have to be set up with OneDrive. I assume you could do Google Drive or Dropbox. I've only tried to use 365 and OneDrive. You can't have the files saved on a SharePoint site for some reason. You have to have them in an actual OneDrive file. So we are going to add a row to a table. Now it's going to ask me where that folder or what folder my spreadsheet is in. So I'm going to go to my shared folder. In the processing folder, I'm doing score billing 2024, and I want it to use the worksheet invoices and then the invoices table. So now as soon as it knows that, this matches my exact spreadsheet. So now invoice date, QB name, invoice number, invoice date, QB name, invoice number. It's just going to pull them all up. So now it's going to ask, what do you want to put in each one of those fields? So when I do that, push this little plus button, and every time you click this plus button, it's going to give you the results from every single step. So as we go, you'll see more and more possible listings here, which is really, really helpful. Let's see. Okay, so this invoice date, you can just go like search date right here. It's usually down towards the bottom, but there's the parse output of invoice date. That's what I want to go there. The QB name, that is my first name, last name, social security number, which is something that's already sent in the template just that way. So I'll search QB. Now, this guy didn't have his social security number in there, unfortunately, but normally it would be there. Invoice number. Go. Total. So the type on this one is, this is a services, was that what it was? Or no, consultation, that's right. No. What did I call it in that template? Consultation fee. There, I called it the QuickBooks product. The due date. salesperson. Sorry, this part's pretty self-explanatory, but you just get to watch me fill this part out. First name, last name, social security number is not there, but it should. Well, we're just going to skip the social security number part. And then the status, that I leave the status there because I have it come back to update my spreadsheet to let me know if it was posted or if there was an error. So for right now, I'm going to leave the status blank and I'm going to continue. So now it's going to do a test. So here's my spreadsheet and usually it'll come right up here in just a second. Let me see. Says it was successful. Sometimes you have to test it twice before it works. I'm not sure why. Boom. Oh, we'll see. There we go. Tested it twice and now it came in there. So I do in my spreadsheet, I have it set to search for duplicate invoice numbers just in case something like that happens and it gets added twice. So I will go ahead and delete this for right now and one of these. All right, so we've got our information in there. The next step is that I want to go ahead and add this person into QuickBooks. So now I'm going to add another step, QuickBooks Online. Now, well, usually a consultation fee is the first time, right? But what if this is a returning client that worked with us last year and now they're coming back? I don't want to create a new QuickBooks client because it won't let me since it'll be the same name. So first thing I'm going to do in QuickBooks is I'm going to search or do a find for this customer. Oh, there it is. Find customer. Okay, continue. So the name, the display name, that is what we do, the first name, last name, social security number. So in here, see, now when I click that plus, now I can look at variables from the email, or I can go to the second step I did where I put the information in the spreadsheet. Technically, it's all the same thing, but you can see how it's handy to be able to go through each step and use the different fields and different things that you gain from each step into your variables for your future steps. So I am going to search for the QB name, Josh Baker. Joshua. And then create QuickBooks Online customer if doesn't exist yet. Yes. Okay, go away. Continue. So, whoa, go back. All right, so now we got to go put all of the information in as if we were creating the brand new QuickBooks consumer. First name, space, last name. Display name is going to be that QuickBooks name again. No title. And, you know, obviously if you do, I don't do email and phone and any of that kind of stuff or address, but if you want that kind of information saved in your QuickBooks, then obviously you need to just include that in your email template. All right, so in notes, we also like to add who the salesperson is. Oop, I can spell. And then we like to put what their plan is. Like that. And then we also use a customer type for score. All right, and that's everything I need. So continue, test. All right, so now it says it sent this person to my QuickBooks, which I don't even have open here. Sorry, should have had that open already. All right, so that other 3606, that's my real client because I already fixed him this morning with no social security number. But here's the new one that we just created. So we've got his name, the salesperson, the plan, just the basic stuff is good to go. Next, we are going to add the invoice. So go back to QuickBooks. The event is going to be create invoice. So now first it's asking what customer do you want to use? And this is where you go use your fields from your previous steps. So see right now, it's what it's doing when it says static. These are giving me options that are actually in my QuickBooks. It's looking up QuickBooks to see what customer I want to do this for. Now, in this situation, I'm obviously not going to do this for the same customer. I need to reference the customer that it just found in the previous step. So instead of saying static and using the fields that came from my QuickBooks, I'm going to change this by going over here and changing it to custom. And now it gives me this little plus button to where I can search for my other steps. So now for my customer, I'm going to go to that third step where I searched for the customer in QuickBooks, and I'm going to use the ID for that person. So now it knows exactly who we're creating this for. And now these are all of the fields that I need to fill in for the invoice. So invoice date. Oh, there it is. All right, due date. Obviously, this gets kind of monotonous, but you get really good at it after you enter all these variables over and over and over again. Invoice number. Then the product. For this one, since I know it's a consultation fee every single time, that's why I have different Zaps for my consultation fee and for my monthly and services invoices, and then for payments. I am going to use the static, and I am just going to say this is always a consultation fee. And the amount. Now, does anybody here use classes for their salespeople for commissions or anything like that? Oh, wow. Do we already have questions in here? Sorry, I haven't been paying attention. Oh. Okay, so does anybody use classes? Because if not, I'm just going to go skip right over that part. Doesn't look like anybody's raising hands or saying yes, so I'll go skip that part. All right, so that's everything that I need in there. So I'm going to just go ahead and continue and test this step. Now I just realized I might get an error because Josh already has this invoice. So hold on a second here. Delete it from the real Joshua. I'll go back and retest it now. All right, and there's the invoice that it just created for me.
Classes, 1 second, Kate. I believe somebody's asking about classes. Classes are something that you can use to categorize things in QuickBooks. Kate is drawing your attention to the classes because it's something that's in her integration findings. It's something that's necessary to have to be able to find the customer or write to that customer. Is that correct, Kate, or did I say something untrue?
That is how we classify the commission for it. And so when we do our QuickBooks reports and everything at the end of the month, we do our reports by class. So that way we know who to pay the commission on. I don't know if there's better ways to do it. That's just how my accounting department set it up and I went with it. So that is how we use commissions. And I honestly, I've had to work a lot with Zapier support to try to figure out all the weird little quirks that are in here as far as like finding the classes. And I will tell you, I did come up with several hurdles along the way, but Zapier support's actually really great and they have helped me every step. And I recently found a bug in the QuickBooks integration and they just fixed it this morning. So they're actually really, really great. Do not be afraid to use Zapier support. So anyway, as you can see here, the invoice was created exactly how I told it to. Everything's great there. So now what I have it do is I've got everything in here. Now the only thing I don't have is that status that's posted, right? So this is how I do those double checks. So now the next step that I'm going to do here is what I like to do is a path. So I am going to say, if there was an error, do this. If there wasn't an error, then do this. So I'm going to add a step and I'm going to do a path. And then we'll rename this one posted. And I rename this one error. So now we're going to go set the conditions. So you can, get smart with it, get tricky with it. However, like the social security number situation that I had earlier, on mine, I have a path that says, if there's no social security number, send me an email that says, hey, this QuickBooks person was created without a social security number. So that way my automation is still working, but I'm told that I need to go add something else to make sure everything is correct. So you can really get creative with the paths and things here. So in this one, I'm going to say only continue if create invoice has an ID. Because if it wasn't able to create an ID, then obviously it didn't work. So if the ID exists, continue. Right? And obviously over here, I'll say when it doesn't exist, continue this way. So the next step, if it is successful, is that I'm going to have it go update my spreadsheet with the status that says that it's been posted. So I have to go back to Excel and I have to find a row. Go through this part again here. So I'm going to have it look up the column invoice number. And then the value is going to be back from my email, the invoice number. And I don't want it to create it. It should already be there. So continue. It found it. There's the ID to it. And now I want it to update that row. See, gotta do this a few different times here. Now, what row do I want to do? I'm going to change it off of static and do custom, and I'm going to use the find row step and use the ID. And these are all my fields. Since I'm not wanting to update any of those, I'm just going to leave those blank. It's not going to wipe them out. It's just not going to do anything there. And I'm going to update the status to posted. Okay, and that's it on that one. Well, I guess I should probably test that. And right before our eyes, posted shows up. So now I know that this is good to go. Now in my spreadsheet, if you end up using one of my templates, every new line item that's entered is also read on the invoice number, just because I just finished this integration. So I have it that way just so I can do all my double checks and everything. But that is why those are red. I go through and double check them, and then I turn them black when I verify that they are in QuickBooks. Okay. All right, so that side is done, but now I need to tell it what to do if there's an error. So now my condition is going to be if the create invoice ID does not exist. Now it says my path would not have continued for this, but it's going to go ahead and let me continue as it does match it, just for testing purposes. So now I would go through here and do the same thing. I'm not going to make you watch me do it, but instead of updating the status to posted, I would update the status to error. But then I'm also going to do an email by Zapier. Send an outbound email. Or let's see, invoice error. The following invoice was not entered into QB. Now, one cool thing on here, if you go to the new email, there is this email body plane, and that literally is taking your entire email that it received in the beginning, and it's putting the entire body in there. So I'm just putting my entire email. I've been doing billing error. Leave all those blank and continue. Test. And there's my email right there. Score invoice error. The following invoice is not entered into QB. And there's my exact email that it first received. And that is everything. So now I do publish, and now every single consultation invoice that is created within Score will automatically create the consumer or find the consumer in QuickBooks, and then add the invoice and add all the data to my spreadsheet. And that is that. What kind of questions do you guys have so far?
Why don't you show them how it all works without stopping, and how the flow works, Kate, with a couple of, or a sample or test customer? Is that possible?
Sure. Let's.
And does anybody have any additional questions? Sorry, Julian. Jasmine, has anybody asked any questions that I'm not seeing or we're not addressing?
No, not right now. No.
Oh, one thing that I did forget to go over is how you get those emails into Score, or maybe I did, I don't know. In Outlook, you do need to set up rules. So when you go over to manage your rules and alerts, see, I have these different rules. So here's my consultation invoice. So when I receive an email with the specific words Zap consultation invoice in the subject, redirect it to consult at, so there's that inbox that Zapier gave me in the beginning. And then once I know everything, since like I said, since I just got this finished today, or this morning, once I verify that everything is working well, the next step to this would also be to add it to where it automatically deletes the email from my inbox, so I never even have to see it. It just comes in and then turns around and redirects it to Zapier and leaves my inbox. So, dun, dun, dun. Okay, so I'm gonna do I have to make sure my subject says Zap consultation invoice, since that's what my mail rule says. Go ahead and take my template. Paste that, but also going to get rid of my header there. And my footer. And then oh wait, that's the date. It's important to make sure that these are formatted the exact same way that they will actually be in the templates. Sometimes the dates have times in them, sometimes they don't. Zapier has a cool little tool that will convert dates to where you can remove the time from it, you can change the formatting of it, and do all sorts of fun stuff. So invoice date, this is going to be or all right. I guess that doesn't really matter. All right. Save. So now I have a test campaign that I use that's just a tag-based campaign that has one step in it. So whenever Kate's test tag is added, it's going to send the email. From the CRO admin to the CRO admin, and then just to turn around and remove the tag. So now it does not matter who I add this tag on, but let me get that added. Oh, and remember the campaign, when you set the campaign up to send the email, it'll be on using the trigger for when a monthly or PPD consultation invoice is created. So it is all done on the background automatically for you. All right, so we're pretending that a consultation invoice was just created. So now the email will be coming in any minute, and then we'll just wait another minute or so, and all of it will be in QuickBooks. And the next step is doing the payments. Now, whenever you do the payment setup, one thing you want to make sure that you do is add a delay. Like I do a 5-minute delay. just because I want to make sure that that invoice gets created first and before the payment goes through. All right. I haven't gotten the email yet. There it is. So there's my email. And I feel like sometimes when I sit here and watch my spreadsheet, it doesn't always happen. Watch pot never boils, but we'll see what happens here. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Need a little dun, 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 dun. Or maybe have some Simpsons going in the background while we wait. You go to our consultation. See, it received the email and it's already got all of the fields. You see there's Josh's social security number there. And this is actually, I maybe should unpublish this because now it's probably going to be doing this twice. All right, let's see if Josh is in there. Boom, there he is. So not to ask a dumb question, but do you recommend Outlook, Excel, or can we use Gmail, Google Sheets? I don't think any of it, I don't think that part matters, just as long as you have a way to turn around and redirect the email or forward the email over to the correct inbox. And I mean, you could probably also create a user with the email address. Ooh, no, wait, that would be hard. I was going to say you can create a user with their email address as the Zapier inbox and just send it to that user. But then you're going to have to do all sorts of fun stuff to try to get your user activated with that weird email and stuff. So probably won't work. Probably best just to email forward. All right, so we just watched the whole process take place right in front of our eyes. Do we have any questions here? Or do you have any other Zapier integration questions in general? Or would you like to see the part about posting a payment? Y'all are awfully quiet today. Oh, and here's my spreadsheet where Joshua was added, and it did come back and tell me that it was posted. Anybody? Questions, comments? Anything specific in Zapier you have questions about? Or do we want me to set up a payment or the payment integration? Joshua, what would you like to do here? Everybody's very quiet today. All right. Thank you, Dee, for having some input. He said to show the payment integration. All right, so I will just go ahead and show you the one that I've already got set up. I think you guys have probably got the whole integration into Excel and everything set up for the payment. Now, we do have different triggers for the campaigns in Score for if you have, a consultation approved payment or, for that, all the different types of invoice payments. I don't use that. I just have it set on the one for any payment that is taken to go ahead and send this information. And here is how I have it set up. Now, right now, my salespeople tend to have an issue with scheduling payments for their consultation before they get a credit card. And right now, Score is automatically switching that to a cash payment. That's actually changing soon. But in order to account for that and make sure that cash payments aren't being entered into QuickBooks, I have the split to where it's looking to see what the payment method is, which is sent in the email. And if that payment method is a credit card, that it will continue on. If it comes through as cash, then it doesn't do anything. It doesn't even enter it into my spreadsheet. It just goes and it sends me an email saying that this is a cash payment. So we receive the email, split in the path. I go in and I add all the information in my table. There's that delay that I told you about for 5 minutes. And then I'm going to go do the same thing that I did before where I find the customer. But now I have a second step of finding the invoice as well that I want to apply the payment to. But it's the same exact logic. So we're going to, I'll edit it so we can look at the steps. So it's looking for that invoice number specifically, and then it's going to create the payment. Now, the bug that I found that we just figured out is how to apply the payment to the invoice in QuickBooks. So whenever I create the payment, I'm finding the customer ID from where I searched for the customer earlier, enter the total amount, the transaction date. The unapplied amount needs to be 0. Unless you really don't want to apply the payment. I don't usually enter the payment method in there, but I do put the transaction number in there. The deposit to account, this is where things get a little tricky because whenever you go look at these, there are, we have a lot of accounts. And so I had to do a bunch of like search lookup stuff, and I discovered that the deposit to account is 39. So if you run into errors when you do a test, it'll straight up say your deposit to account is looking for a number, not a name. And so you've got to just kind of go with it and use your support chat bubble thing down here if you get lost, and they'll kind of help you out. So that's the account deposits to. And then the line amount, this part right here is the tricky part. This is what I had to figure out in order to get the payment to post to the invoice. I was only putting the invoice number that I wanted it to apply to here. I was not putting anything in the line amount. And that's why I couldn't get it to apply. So they came back and said, now that the bug is fixed, make sure that you have the line amount in there as well, and then it'll post to it just fine. So that worked out. And then again, I have it do my status updating in my spreadsheet and sending me an email if there's an error. So if it was posted, meaning if the ID exists to the payment that was created, it's going to go ahead and find that row and update the row and say it's posted. If there is an ID, it's going to update the row to say there was an error, and then my email to give me a heads up. And that's how you post a payment. Let's see. I need to watch from the beginning, missed the first 10 because, yep, definitely check out, save this video because you're probably going to want to reference this. There's so many different little steps and things, and you can reference the different fields and variables I use if you'd like. So that is all I've got there on payments. Any questions there? Nope. Think we're good.
Awesome. So let's go. Let me share my screen. Thank you, Kate. That's a lot of information. That's a lot to do, right? So let's go ahead and show. And I want to go over and review what we've done in these last 7 webinars, right? And a lot of you have been on a lot of them. Some of you have been on a few. Some of you are new. There are others that have not attended to this webinar, but fundamentally, if we recap in our first webinar, we went over the case study, right? We went over everything at a high level, and Kate showed all of you how she organized her business and prepared and created a lot of customer service workflows, a lot of automation with tags and such, so that she can automate the sales process and customer fulfillment process, as well as the dispute processing process. So that was webinar 1, right? Webinar 2 was all about about more doing and showing you things in ScoreCEO, and we showed you how to create these specific 3 campaigns that she covered in her first webinar, right? She showed you just a few of them. How many of these? Each one of these is a campaign that you created. How many of those do you have in your portal at this time, Kate? How many have you created over the past year?
How many campaigns have I created?
Yeah, just a rough number. Doesn't have to be
exact. 78.
78 campaigns. And with that, she continues to create campaigns, right? Because every day she's got a new idea on how to automate something else within ScoreCEO. That's the benefit of having everything done in one ecosystem, right? And that's what we went over, really, about creating tags and creating tag-based campaigns and how to do that regarding these 3 campaigns. So take a look at that webinar as well. Good webinar. Webinar 3 was all about creating web forms and broadcast lists, how to design and create web forms and all the features in those web forms regarding presetting maybe the new lead nurturing campaign, yes or no, attaching a payment model plan or a payment plan to a specific web form, so you can use that to automatically classify a customer based on an opt-in web form, or just clicking on a button with a link. Things of that nature, how to add tags in web forms and remove tags from web forms. So this way you can automatically add tags to both your to customers that opt in into different forms on different websites and landing pages and such. So that's important to be able to do that within a platform, and we give you the ability to do that. We went over that in webinar 3. In webinar 4, we went over a specific campaign, which is a calendaring campaign and a workflow, right? Create the web form, how to add that. We added a contact via the web form to ScoreCEO. We applied a tag. And with that tag, we enroll that customer into a campaign, into a specific campaign, which went ahead and asked for a Calendly appointment, right? And then we removed the campaign, and then we removed the enrolled customer from that campaign. This is just an example of what we can do and what we did on that webinar with ScoreCEO as well. Integrating Calendly to be able to go ahead and automate your campaign, your calendaring process through Calendly itself. Then we went ahead in webinar 5 and we discussed integrating QuickBooks with ScoreCEO. I had a ton of questions on this after that, and there weren't a lot of people on that webinar. I think it was the first time we started holding our webinar every week, or the second weekly webinar. We had maybe a few people on the call, plus we had a ton of questions. That's why we had today's webinar, and Kate was able to go in and succinctly explain every detail as well. Plus, we had some enhancements that were delivered between that webinar and this webinar that let Kate do a lot more and show you what she could do, and she went over that today. And then we had our webinar 6, which was how to use our JotForms integration and basically be able to create JotForms with ScoreCEO for your digital assets and your inbound marketing strategies, so that you can integrate that all through webhooks in JotForms. And that was the previous webinar, which was about 2 weeks ago. This week's webinar, we're talking about integrating a Zapier for success, right? And what we did was Whoops, sorry about that. What we did was we decided to go back and reshow the integration with QuickBooks, but with all of the added new features, the functionality, the fields that were included in the export files that were added in that interim, and we were able to go over all of that. Now that's a lot of stuff. Wouldn't you all agree? That's a monumental amount of things to do. If you need to speak to me and Jasmine and talk more about helping you or moving you forward or clarifying any doubts that you may have on any of these webinars, and it's not the last. This isn't the last webinar. This is just the last of a series of webinars, and now we're going to start getting more strategic, right? But it takes a long time to give these webinars alone. It took what, maybe 2 months, 3 months, right, to give them all. We need to be able to do things today. Sometimes we need to accelerate things. The problem that we have with doing this all ourselves is that you have to go ahead and develop these campaigns and do a lot of things that you normally don't do, like include content, your graphics and content. We really haven't talked about that, right? We're talking about the structure and how to connect things and how to implement them in ScoreCEO. But a lot of these things need content developed for them, content that converts, content that worries about your SEO strategy, that takes into consideration your keywords, takes into consideration graphics design as well. Sometimes these forms are unstructured forms. That's why we have a JotForm form builder. But let's say you don't want to use JotForms and you want to use the ScoreCEO forms. Well, you're going to have to build that and incorporate that into your websites, which adds another capacity or capability you need to acquire. Just ask the technology expert. If you ask her how long it took to learn a lot of these things that she's showing you, believe me, she's got years and years of experience acquiring the knowledge to be able to use these platforms and integrate them with ScoreCEO in such a diligent manner. But not only that, we have dunning campaigns that you need to recreate and customize. Although ScoreCEO comes with a dunning campaign, you want to customize it to what your business is like. Not every credit repair business is going to have. And though it's very efficient, you want to customize that. You want to add some sort of appointment campaigns or multiple appointment campaigns. You want to be able to integrate with, most of you all use QuickBooks. So you want to be able to integrate with QuickBooks as well via Zapier. But not only that, you need to understand Zaps, email parsers, filters, email routes, tags, campaign automation, and website integration as well. That's a lot. And look at the queen. She just put on her little queen, software queen crown.
That's because Dee said Kate knows she's the shit. So I just had to put my I'm the shit crown on to support that. Just short.
Let's talk about sales and marketing, right? You need to learn you need to have assets that do landing page development, website integration. Once again, content, web forms, tags, campaign automation, website integration as well, with service fulfillment automation. And this is just, if you're using Score as your dispute processor, there's a process there, right? Maybe there's a process that you want to backfill information to yourself or forward information proactively to your customers. There's a lot of things that ScoreCEO does automatically, like our great notice of account update, right? But the reality is that maybe you want to start customizing some of these things to go out in different instances, or start creating additional interactions besides one notice of account update that goes out to your customer by default every time you dispute or we dispute for you. There's a bunch of different ways that you can integrate with service as well, right? Maybe let's say if the score drops, right? You don't want to have to explain to 100 customers every other month why the score dropped, when we all know that why the score drops. It's not under your control, first of all. And second of all, why are you going to explain it over and over again to every single customer you have? Why not develop a campaign that when that happens, proactively let them know and nurture those customers to reassure them that the process is the most important thing that needs to continue, right? Because time. If there are two things that affect dispute results, It's is frequency and change. If you send out enough disputes, the more disputes you send out over over time, the better your disputes will get over time as a whole. There's certain things that might not work, but over time, frequency is a number that always adds to your dispute results. And then we're talking about customizing your ScoreCEO portal to be able to add some automation. Your ScoreCEO done for you campaigns in your ScoreCEO portal to be able to add customization to the automation that we do for you guys from the get-go. That's the way we sound, or our content developers sounded many, many years ago. Well, let me tell you one thing that Kate did. She went through every single campaign and said, not using that. And she created all the content, customized she put in her logos and customized her logos and did everything from like if nothing existed. But she understood the structure and she replaced it with her message, with the way she sounds, right? And then we have, to add to that, we have a blog authority marketing program where we go ahead and we do 1,500 to 3,000 word blogs that we post on your websites to create authority building. We post them on your social media channels, and then we go ahead and connect those social media channel campaigns back to the blog itself, so that you can start squeezing traffic through your social media to your website, and you can go ahead and take advantage of automated sales and marketing fulfillment as well on your website. That's a lot of stuff. With that blog marketing or authority marketing program, we will go ahead and produce those blogs for you and get that all done, plus automate all your other stuff, all in about 6 months. That's, if we were to charge you for that today, it would be about $10,000 or $1,677 per month. If any of you decide that you don't want to do this on your own, and you can, we can do it for you, and the software queen, along with my marketing staff and our UI UX designers, as well as our HTML developers that are all Score employees, they will be able to go ahead and do this for you if you so choose to. And the price, if you do this, I say today, but we'll give you until the next webinar. If you close with us, you can either pay us, you can pay us $7,000, more $7,700, or $12.99 per month for 6 months if you need a payment plan, and there's no interest there. There's no additional fees. This is $12.99 a month, and we can go ahead and sign you up and get you started on an onboarding call to see and plan this whole development for your business. All of you will have alterations to that, but we'll keep it within the limits. And if you're interested, just reach out to Jasmine, to Javier, or to me via the link, and go ahead and let us know, and we can do this for you as well. I want to thank you all for being on this call, as well as all of the previous calls. We will see each other in 2 weeks to go over the telemarketing sales rule. This has been a big issue as of late, and we're going to show you on that call. We're going to basically explain in a nutshell what's going on. But besides that, we're going to show you how to use your current ScoreCEO portal to be able, and some strategies that you need to integrate into your website and into your email content, so that you don't have to abide by the TSR, because you're going to bypass the TSR, because you're not going to be subject to the TSR because of the process. This way, you don't have to wait 6 months to get paid. And not only has the CFPB and the Department of Justice engaged credit repair organizations like Lexington Law and creditrepair.com, which is the same company. They've also engaged Credit Repair Cloud, which Credit Repair Cloud was fined $3 million between personal fines and company fines because they were encouraging their customers to not follow the telemarketing sales rule. One of the things that they pointed out in their commentary is that they want software companies such as Score to be a bit more proactive, and we're going to give all of our CROs until the end of the year to either be compliant or not with the TSR. It really doesn't matter if you are or not. It matters to you, because if you are bound to the TSR, you can't charge for 6 months. That means the way you charge today has to be postponed for 6 months if you're bound to the TSR. And we're going to show you some ways to be able to comply with that and be able to have a fair advantage within the industry. Okay, so having said that, thank you for your time. And we will see you on the next webinar in 2 weeks. And Kate, thank you so much. And Dee and everyone on the call, thank you for participating. You guys are awesome. Keep on keeping on and assisting to our webinars. It's just going to get better. And if you're interested in our offer, just feel free to go ahead and call us and we can sit down and talk. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.